really kind of, there are these really kind of funny names that go with the different labels for the types of, menu items where they fall into. And we're going to go into this, but I just want to kind of prepare you for what's to come. So again, menu engineering. All right. I'll click it. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to go over. We're going to define menu engineering. We're going to go through the matrix, some menu engineering best practices, contribution margins. Some of these terms might seem like a lot going on, but I will have definitions for all of them, and I want you to have a really, working knowledge of what they mean and how you can apply them to your business. And you can apply this to your business at any level. So please don't think, oh, I'm just starting out, I'm too small. If you are out there selling and you have data, you can start building this information. And then there's some menu psychology tips that I want to share as well. And we'll leave some time for some Q&A, and I will stay on as long as possible. But again, I do have a hard stop at 12:45. Okay, so first and foremost, I just want people to realize that when you start your business, there are always going to be things that you anticipate are going to sell really, really well. You hope that everything you put together is going to sell really well, but there's just going to be some things that just don't resonate as well with certain, certain demographics, certain markets. It just depends. So the whole point of menu engineering is to help you figure that out in order for you to uncover all the differences so you can maximize your menu's effectiveness, right? We don't want to sit and have product on our tables or that we're spending time making if it's not going to make us the most profit. So that's where we are going to transition to the definition of menu engineering. So I'm going to give you sort of the formal definition, and I'm going to give you the super simple one. All right, so menu engineering, it does combine data analysis. It looks at the profitability and popularity of individual menu items, plus how you place them on your menu, how you display them, and how you can use that to encourage guests to choose certain dishes. So it builds on data and psychology, but at the end of the day, it really just comes down to, what's the demand and what's the margin contribution? How many is it going to make me? All right. So to understand what menu engineering is, I had that diagram in the beginning, but the first thing you will have to do in order to use this tool is to be able to run a product mix report from your POS. So everything that I'm talking about is building on the next lesson. So in the first class, we talked about food costs and we talked about POS systems. Now, if you have all that in place, you can start doing menu engineering. So when you run your report, you're going to have a list of all of your menu items, everything that you've sold, the quantities that you've sold. You're going to divide them into these 4 quadrants. So if you kind of remember this from, junior high or high school, this is what a graph, and the one side on the left has profitability, and on the bottom it says popularity. And you're going to divide all of your menu items by how profitable and how popular they are. And it's going to fit into one of these different categories. And so the 4 names are stars, plow horses, puzzles, and dogs. Sometimes you might see workhorses instead of plow horses, but essentially they're interchangeable. But each one represents something different on your menu. And as you could probably guess from this, matrix, we want to have a menu that's full of stars that are high profitability and high popularity. Not only do people love them and they're coming to get them, but they also make us a lot of money. So actually, let's kind of break down these a little bit more. Stars, highly profitable, highly popular. So these are things you want to keep on your menu for as long as you were in business, right? Because it is consistently bringing in clients to you and it's bringing in the most profit. And these are also things that you'll see on happy hour menus, or if you are doing a special, you'll probably run this special because it's going to attract more attention. So stars are the keys to a successful menu. Okay. The next term. Okay. Plow horses. So these are items that are really popular, but for whatever reason, they're just not very profitable for you. So these are items that your clients have, become comfortable with associating with you or expect to see on your menu anytime they see you do a pop-up. And so these are items that you may not necessarily want to take off the menu, but you want to figure out, how can I maximize this? How can I make it more profitable? Maybe I need to adjust the portion size, right? Maybe I need to make it a tiny bit smaller, but keep it at the same price because people really like it and they're comfortable at that price, but it's not making enough money for me. Or maybe there's an ingredient cost that's really expensive. Maybe I can source that ingredient from somewhere else to help bring my costs down. Whatever it is, you want to figure out how to make that plow horse, more profitable. The next one's puzzles. So puzzles are really, really profitable items, but for whatever reason, they're just not popular. People don't order them, right? So it could be something, that you've come up with on a whim. Maybe you use leftover product for it. I know for a lot of bakers, you might do bread pudding with all your leftover scraps, and there you get great profitability out of that because it's leftovers, right? You were going to probably throw it away. But if people are not ordering it or buying it, it's not popular, you want to figure out, how can I make this popular because it's handling my waste and it's making me a lot of money. So you may need to either lower the price or put it on a different place in your menu on the display, or package it differently. Some simple changes like that can take something that maybe is a hidden gem into being potentially a star. So you want to figure out the puzzle, when you have a puzzle item, you want to figure out how to make it better. And then the very last one, dogs. These are the things that we are literally looking for so we can take them off the menu. They're not profitable and they are not popular. And sometimes profitable, it may not necessarily be the dollar amount. It could be something that is highly, highly labor intensive, and something that maybe it is not super expensive to make, but because the labor takes so long, it's not very profitable for you. And nobody really buys it. So why are you wasting your time using it? So when I do a lot of these menu engineering exercises with clients, the main thing I'm looking for are the dogs. Like, what can we cut off the menu right now? Take them away, or if we need to, if there's a way to transform it into something else, we will. But usually you can't really transform it. The guests have spoken and they've said, we don't want to buy this. And your staff has spoken, hey, this takes a lot of work. It's not profitable for us. It's not making us a lot of money. We want to just take it off the menu. So the only time I kind of get pushback is if I have an owner who is really in love with a dog that's on their menu. Maybe it's something that they opened up their location with and they thought that was going to be their best seller, and it turned out not to be. So don't get really emotional when you think about this. When it comes to dividing them up, if you have a dog on your menu, you got to let it go. All right. So once you figure out those 4 different categories for all of your menu items, you want to establish what we call the contribution margin. Sounds kind of fancy, but it's actually a very simple formula. All you do is you subtract the menu price from the food cost. So remember, if you did your food cost already, you already know what everything costs on your menu. All you're doing now is subtracting the menu price. Okay. This is going to tell you how profitable those items are. Okay? Now, if I give a couple of examples, I want you to tell me how you would categorize them based on the 4 different categories we just shared. So there's either star, plow horse, puzzle, or dog. Here is the first one. We have a popular red velvet cake slice that dang it, I went too fast. That we sell for $7. It costs $1.25 to make. The contribution margin is $5.75. And so how I got that, our formula is CM, which stands for contribution margin, $7 minus $1.25, $5.75. Would you categorize this as a star, plow horse, puzzle, or dog? And you can either type in the chat or you can take yourself off mute. I kind of showed this one already, so. Yes, Miss Joy, you got it right. So it's a star. Now it doesn't want to pop up. Okay. Definitely a star. All right, next one. Hopefully this one doesn't pop up the answer as well. Okay, you sell German chocolate cake slice for $10 and it costs $2.50 to make. So the contribution margin is $7.50. It's a more profitable cake when compared to the red velvet cake slice, but it's rarely ordered. How'd you categorize this one?
A puzzle?
Very good. Yes, you got it. So, I mean, as you start to look through this, especially if you don't have a lot of inventory, it's kind of easy to determine where all of your where your menu items fit in these categories, right? And so there might be some things, maybe out of the 10 items you have, if you got 8 stars, that's fantastic, right? We need to figure out what to do with those other two. If they fall into a puzzle or a plow horse, using those tips to figure out how to make them stars. Or if you do this exercise with 10 of your products, and maybe you identify 5 stars, 2 puzzles, one plow horse, 2 dogs, we already know what we need to do in order to improve our menu, improve our profitability. So how are some ways? I mean, I shared a couple, but if you know what sells well, what's really popular, what makes you the most money, how can you use menu engineering to help impact your business? And I'll just kind of leave it open. Either you can put in the chat or you can take yourself off mute. All right, you can build your menu based on very good. Yes, absolutely. Maybe some other ways.
Possibly see what else you can make based on the things that you already have on your star um, menu.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm a big fan of small menus only because people have figured out what they do really well and they're maximizing that, right? Now, whether you're a fan of In-N-Out or not, but if you go to In-N-Out, everything on there is a star. And they even have their secret menu that people order, but it's still based on those star menu items. They're not trying to do chicken fingers and quesadillas and all these other things like their burgers and fries, right? I'm not really a fan of their fries, but their burgers are good. So I would say, think about that with you. Don't think about how many different items can I put on there. You want to think about how many items can I put on here that one I can effectively, make at a high level that is going to get me an amazing profit that I want. That's going to attract the clientele that I'm looking for to buy my product, and it's something that's going to bring them back, right? We don't want to make something that, I don't think any of us are in the business where we want to make something that people only want to have, once every 6 months, or it's super super seasonal. We want something that people are going to look forward to enjoying, whether it's daily, weekly, a few times a month, so that way we have these repeat guests. And so the way to do that is to create a menu that's built on stars. So here are just, you guys see some great examples, and this is just sort of my 4 that I came up with for you guys to kind of piggyback on. So first of all, it provides menu insight. It tells you exactly what opportunities you have on your menu to improve it, or potentially even what's dragging it down, right? You can figure out, how can I make this better? You'll know what to take off your menu and what to keep, right? Because people are voting with their money. They're voting with their, with their debit card every time they buy something from you. If you're seeing people buy the same 20 things, and then it takes that one-off person to buy this, I'm not going to keep, a menu full of things for that one-off person, right? So we want to make sure that we have something for the majority. It's also going to give you some awareness on maybe the menu items that might need a price increase, and even some that may need to be decreased, right? If you have a lot of wiggle room, you've got a really low food cost on something, you have some room to drop the price down 50 cents or $1, not a drastic amount, but something where if people aren't buying it, but you really want to push this item, show some flex on the price. And then also the items that deserve a price increase. If somebody's ordering, your stars constantly, that's something that I would put a little bump on the price because people are coming for it. So looking at, how you price things and where you can tweak it. And then also where to place items on your menu to get the most attention. So I know with us, we're not really having, formal printed menus, but there is still a way that there's a menu psychology when people read, and how to organize your menu so that way it attracts attention to certain items. So when you're looking at your menu engineering report and analyzing this, instead of taking something off the menu right away, maybe put it out just in a different place in the order of the menu. Maybe instead of having it, you got 12 items and it's number 12, maybe just move it up to number 2 and see what happens, right? And test it and see if that changes how people order it. Because again, a lot of psychology, when we go on Google, how many of us go to the 4th or 5th page? How many of us go to the 2nd or 3rd page, right? So that's why we talk about SEO so much when you are talking about marketing, because we want to attract attention. And usually those first few items are what gets ordered the most. And so if you're trying to move something to sell more, you may just put it in a more visible place on your menu. Okay. All right, so we talked about little kind of the menu engineering, contribution margin, which is that simple subtraction formula. But let's also talk about some menu marketing tips that are going to apply to you here at the market. Now, I found a really great article that is that has all types of menu psychology, but it's really more for printed menu. And I do have the link in this that I'll share, but I kind of picked out the ones that would be the most appropriate for our group here. So the very first one, you have to have a clear, legible menu. Now, I work with this is a picture from a client that's not at the market, but I just want to kind of show you the before and after. And it's a very simple fix. I went to go visit this gentleman at a market. This is Lola's Donuts, and this is what he had, set up at the farmer's market. I just want to ask, can anybody, fully read everything that's on this menu?
Not really.
No.
No.
And this is not to bash him. He is a startup. He is learning. He is just, kind of winging it a little bit. He's a one-man show. So I came and I said, you know what? I'm just going to bring my chalk marker, with me the next time I come see you. And I just want to see if I can at least make the menu pop a little bit more, So here's the after of what I did. Lola's Donuts. Now, this is not even like the best writing. It's a little messy on the cursive, but can you now read what he's selling and how much he's selling it for?
Definitely.
Yes.
And it's more appealing.
Okay. So this is him. I actually happened to catch him. He was like amazed, but I'm like, all I did was write it out. It's just print. So a couple of things that I did is, I used a chalk marker, which is going to show up much better than actual chalk. And just because it's a chalkboard doesn't mean you have to have chalk. You can use a chalk marker. I wrote it in print. So that way it would be easy to read and also in a bigger font size. So that way if somebody was, 2 or 3 people back behind the line, they could still read it. And I made sure that the pricing was legible. Actually, I have this on the next screen. So I also made sure to put the pricing and how he took payment. That was another big thing. So just on my tips, the chalk markers, not chalk, and I have a couple of examples of those. They're not super expensive and they do last a while. So it's not like the chalk where you drop it, it's broken, you got little pieces you're trying to write on there with. They do last for a bit. You want to make sure that you have something that cleanly erases. If you've got a lot of background because you weren't able to get that, a chalkboard clean, it's very distracting. So what I have always used is a magic clean eraser. The ones that you use to clean your house, you can even buy the off-brand. Those work as well. But I use that to wipe it down and make it a nice fresh surface. I always use print. The only reason I wrote Lola's Donuts in cursive because I was trying to match his logo. His logo is actually like in red in cursive. But other than that, I would always use print to make it more legible. I include prices. Some people are kind of mixed on this and you guys may have some thoughts on it, but sometimes I had one vendor tell me, well, I don't put the prices. I want them to come ask me. Now I want you to put yourself in the guest shoes. If you've got 4 or 5 people deep in a line, am I really going to wait in line to ask you the price? No, I'm probably going to keep on going. So I don't want to ever do anything that is going to prevent somebody to, come up and talk to me or, not be sure if they want to buy from me, right? You either can afford it or you cannot, right? So the price is on there. I would also include payment methods only because so many of you guys use different methods. It's not just either cash or credit. You have some other options. And so that might be a deal breaker for some people. You know, they only have Cash App and you're one of the only vendors that takes Cash App, but they don't know that. They may just walk through the market and not, you know, and not say hi to anybody. They might think, oh, they don't have Cash App. I don't see anything available for that. So if you are taking some different type of payment, I would have put that on the, you know, on your board. And if you have any kind of upsell or bundle, you know, something 2 for this, 3 for this, I would also include that as well, especially if you have, you know, people who are in a group, they may want something that is going to have, you know, appeal to a bigger group of people, especially if it's a family. I've got kids, instead of me buying just one where they got to share, oh, I can get 2 and it's almost the same price as one, but at least they each have one. So, you know, that's something that you can also, you know, include. But those are just kind of some tips with the chalkboard menu, because I know a lot of us use those and a lot of vendors do. I like the look of a chalkboard marker or chalkboard menu, as long as it is legible and you know, vibrant. If it looks really messy and it looks like I can't really kind of figure it out, it kind of turns me off. And that could just be my OCD, but I'm just letting you know, it does make a difference in retail when things are neat, organized, and they look like there's been kind of some care and love put behind it. Now, not everybody has a chalkboard marker. This is another client of mine, Sad Girl Creamery, and I'm using her example like for some good and some not so good things. Now, without reading what I have, if you just saw this particular signage, what kind of stands out to you on the Sad Girl Creamery sign?
There's no
The
price.
hand in the photo. The hand in the photo.
Mm-hmm. So there was 2 things. Somebody said no pricing, which, yeah, I didn't like that there wasn't any pricing, because I don't want to have a surprise, because her stuff is actually kind of pricey. So when you get to the front and you realize it's $7 or $8, you're kind of embarrassed a little bit, you know, but you don't want to walk away. And you know, it kind of leaves you with a mixed feeling about it. But what I absolutely love about her banner are the photos with the hands. Like, you can actually envision yourself holding her ice cream novelty in your hand. There's already a bite, you know, where you can see the texture. These are professionally done photos, and it makes a difference. So a couple of tips that I would recommend anytime you're doing a banner style sign or printed sign, you want to have your company logo. If you don't have a logo, I would encourage you to get one. You know, I know that sometimes people feel that they're pricey, but they're not as pricey as you would think. You know, I got my logo off of Fiverr. It wasn't crazy expensive. But if you're not comfortable using Fiverr, because that is a platform where you can only interact with the person through email. Another really great website is 99 Designs. They're relatively inexpensive, and they're powered by Vistaprint, which they're, you know, famous for all of their business cards. But I've had clients use them and they've gotten some really gorgeous photos, and these are all like American-based folks. So Fiverr, if you haven't been on Fiverr, you know, it's people from around the world, so you can get some really cheap logos made, because you could be talking to somebody in, you know, Saudi Arabia or wherever, and based on their currency exchange, they can give you a really, you know, cheap price. But I would invest in a logo. This is something that's representing your brand. This is something where, as you grow, you can use this as another stream of revenue. You can use it for merchandise, right? So it could be a t-shirt, it could be a keychain, it could be, you know, if you've ever been to Bloom and Plume Coffee, which is one of my clients, they have fantastic merchandise. It is on the high side, but you know what? People buy it like crazy. Oh, Miss Joy, you got a hand raised? You just take yourself off.
Yes. Do you recommend, or do you know anywhere for pictures? That's what I've been looking for.
Yeah,
Professional.
I have a couple of food photographers that I do work with. Now, I'm not saying you can't use your phone. I've seen some really good photos from the phone, but not everybody has the best eye when it comes to gauging their photos. So if you, you know, if you have photos that are really fuzzy or pixelated, I wouldn't use those. I would either have a friend take some new photos for you that has maybe a better phone, or they have a digital camera. Or yes, I have a couple of referrals for food photographers, and they're a few $100s, but they'll come out and do a really fantastic session with you. So yeah, if anybody needs that, I'll drop my email in the chat. Just send me an email so that way I can connect you with them. Okay, so let's go back to the list. So company logo, right? She's got a nice logo that she's had professionally done. She's got high-end graphics on here, okay? Contact, you can't see it, and I realize like I cut the picture off a little bit, but she does have her Instagram at the bottom. She didn't have a website when this was printed, but she recently got a website. So then she would need to update this or at least have it somewhere else. But if you have other handles that you want to put, I would put them there, right? We want people to follow us and see where else we're going to have a pop-up or see the other menu options, or maybe DM us and set up a catering with us, right? So we want them to have that quick contact information. You want to use a large font that can be seen from a distance. So here's kind of the things I would kind of nitpick a little bit with hers. It's easier for me to read the description, even though it's smaller, than it is for me to read the name of the product. So, in this particular case, I would say we need to either do an outline or something around the name of the product so it's easier to see. And then I probably would not have as much detail in the description as this because we lose a lot of room. But, part of this is what's helping to sell the product. I'm just gonna mute, okay. But be mindful, you want people to be able to easily identify what they want to order. Okay, let's see, include payment methods and QR codes. So QR codes, I know some of you guys, you have had them printed out, which is fantastic. So that way people want to quickly scan your menu. If you have it set up with your POS where they can even pay through that QR code, that makes it so much more streamlined for the people that are coming through your lines. Again, you still want to have some bundles and upsells if applicable. You may not have anything that you can do that with, in her case, she's not doing any 2 for 10 or, 2 for 12, none of that. It's one price and that's it. There's no discounts. And then if you do print the prices on here, I would make sure you have a way to adjust those prices if needed. So, sometimes I've seen on some of these signs where people can write on the sign and it has a texture on there so it's easily wiped off. You can either have that, or if you don't print with the signs and then you print your own pricing. I've seen it where we've used, if you've ever had a school project with your kids, you've had to buy like the little sticker letters. I've used that before because then that way it kind of looks like it was part of the printed sign. You can't really tell from a distance that it's something that we adjusted. So there's a few creative ways that you can go about, making sure the price is still seen, but it can still be increased if needed. I have one client where it's a different menu, depending on which market he's at, because certain people will just pay more for their products. So you want to be mindful of that as well. Okay, no worries, Lonnie, we're good. Any questions on what we've talked about so far on signage?
I was gonna actually comment on, well, not comment, but ask a question about that, about 2 different pricings. My original question was gonna be, if you have a price listed on your website, and then when someone come visit you in person and it's different, is that like a problem or?
No, so tell me, is it higher when they come to visit you or is it lower?
Higher, and I only say that because when I made my website, that was kind of like the first things that I did. However, with the change and now it's no longer summer and things like that, strawberries are more expensive and some stuff has changed. So my prices have changed. It's like maybe $1, but I have had someone ask me, they're looking at my website in front of me while they were standing in front. They're like, well, it says that this is $12 here and you have it at $14 here. And I'm like, oh shoot. Okay, well just go ahead and give me 12.
Yeah, so I would have a disclaimer on your website that just says prices are subject to seasonality. And so especially when it comes to produce and strawberries, that's fine. So it's better. So the quick answer is we really should have matching prices, right? You don't want to be in that uncomfortable position, but if you haven't had a time to update your menu and you need to make a price adjustment, if you have that disclaimer on your website, then at least it can kind of cover you a little bit to say, strawberry prices have increased in the last week. And so We haven't had a chance to update our website, but we do have a notice on there that says our prices may be increased due to seasonality. But I was also going to say, you know, when you go and set up at a market, there's a lot more work. They don't know that you're not paying a fee. A lot of farmers markets, they charge a fee. So if you're asking me to make something for you and you're going to come pick it up or I'm not delivering it to you and, you know, I'm shipping it, there's a different price point than me going and setting up at a market and being there all day, having to pay a vendor fee. So I would almost expect it to be a little bit more. Now, if I go, you know, to a franchise location, that's a little bit different. But I would have something on your website that at least addresses seasonality, or that, you know, prices are subject to, you know, change based on availability or something like that. Okay. Pricing psychology. What's up with all the 9s and the 5s? And so this is not a client of mine, but this is just a menu that I found when I thought was hilarious. We got 75 cents, 45 cents, you know, all these ending numbers, 95 cents, but there is real psychology behind it. Okay. So when you see this type of pricing, it is called charm pricing, and you're going to see this everywhere, right? So charm pricing, it just means that the left digit, that first digit you read, is reduced from a round number by 1 cent at the start of a price. So instead of something being $4, it's $3.99, right? When you have a lower first number, people just immediately think it's less, even though the price is about the same, right? $3.99 versus $4, we're saving a penny. But people see the 3 and they instinctually just think, oh, it's 3 something versus 4 something. So, you know, because we read from left to right, charm pricing is really effective in our country. And it is also something that is perceived as a value. Okay, so we have found, and there's studies that have shown, ending in 99 cent can increase the sales of a low value item by up to 24%, right? So if 100 people walked by and they saw that $3.99, you know, they would buy it thinking it's not 4, up to 24 people would potentially buy just based on it having a smaller round number. But there is a catch-22 to this. This is really only perceived when it's considered kind of a low value or an inexpensive item. So you want to be careful when you use charm pricing, okay? Charm pricing is not for everyone. You want to make sure that you have positioned yourself to be a value-driven item or a budget-friendly item, okay? If you've ever gone to a fine dining place, you're not seeing any kind of charm pricing. You know, you may not even see a dollar sign. It's $25. It's $42. There's no point anything. There's no 99, none of that. Okay. So if you're a premium or high end, you know, product, then you're not going to use the charm pricing method. However, you have to decide, you know, not everybody is meant to be high end, and that's not a disrespectful thing. There, you know, you might be positioning yourself to be that value. Are you a Dollar Tree? Is your business more of a Macy's, middle of the road, or are you a Bloomingdale's, a high end, right? There's no judgment here. These are all very profitable business models, but you have to decide what's your lane? Where do you fit in with this? Because you want to make sure your pricing matches that. Yes, thinking about that much. And I would see myself, you know, when I would do menu engineering with things, if somebody I felt like was like more of a value type of establishment, I'm like, we need to put things on the 9, or we need to put things. I personally like the 99 versus the 95, because to me, just what's the difference between 95 and 99? I'd rather just get the extra 4 cents. And if I'm going to be less than that, then it needs to be like a 75 or something, you know, and something ending in a 5, but we don't end in zeros or any of those even numbers. It's always either a 5 or a 9. And so think about that. You know, I have clients who are going to be selling cookies for $4.50, and I have clients that are going to sell them for $1.50. Depending on what their costs are and depending on who they're catering to, those price points might make sense for them, right? So you need to figure out where do you fit in, and if you want to use charm pricing to help move the needle on some of your product. If people are flinching every time you say, you know, $8, $7 or something like that, maybe you have a $6.99 or a $5.99 just to test the market, to see if that helps push people over the edge to buy your product because it will be perceived as something less. Be prepared with like a roll of pennies. All right, so another tip, we got to limit the options. So I just think this is not a client of mine. This is just a menu that I found hilarious. Is starting to like make me itch a little bit. It was so much stuff on here. You just don't want to overwhelm your customers with too many options, right? Less is more in a lot of cases. Now, if you're the Cheesecake Factory, you might be the one exception, but I can tell you there are a lot of people who don't like Cheesecake Factory simply because of how big the menu is. It's overwhelming. You may not be that person, but I'm just letting you know, for some people, it is a lot. The other thing too, with when it comes to having really, really large menus, people start to lose focus. I mean, what do you do really well, right? If you can do all of this, are these all mediocre things? Or are these two things are going to be stars and everything else is more of like a puzzle plow horse mix, right? So you want to find the stars that are in your menu and focus on featuring those, okay? When you have a smaller menu, it actually is going to help create more profitability and more efficiency in your kitchen as you prep. You're not buying, instead of having to buy, 50 ingredients, maybe you only need to buy 25, right? So, or maybe you have things that you can make, with those same ingredients, but you can package them differently or make them in a different way. So that way you can have an additional menu item that is a little bit different. So be mindful of how many items you put on your menu. If you start to kind of branch out to it where you were to have, like for my savory clients, if you've got appetizers and you've got, starters, you really don't want to do more than between 7, 8 in each of those categories, because it's going to, again, become too overwhelming of a process, not only for you to manage as a smaller business, but also for your clients to make decisions. And, if anybody's ever had a really, really long menu, think about it. Think about how many times people are like sitting there reading each line, trying to figure it out. Maybe they want a taste of this. Maybe they're not sure, they're on the fence, versus coming in and there's 3 menus like sad girl creamy. There's 3 options. If you like chocolate, there's a chocolate option. If you want fruity, there's a fruity option. There's 2 fruity options. But if you're a vegan, you got 1 option. And hey, if I don't like any of those, I go on to the next one. But if I like those, I'm in line, and it's very simple. Okay. All right. So I just want to, sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you, okay, so basically what is the difference between having, let's just put it in my perspective with the funnel cakes, a strawberry funnel cake, with the ice cream, all of the whipped cream, all of this stuff, right? And then a make your own type of thing, and what is the proper way to charge for the additional toppings? Because that's kind of where I'm having an issue at.
Okay. So what I normally do when you have multiple, and I think we talked about this even with Lonnie a little bit, yeah. You look at what's the most expensive ingredient, and we figure out if somebody were to take this one ingredient and just go crazy and dump it on there, how much would that cost me, right? What is, you can even, I know, there's somebody that needs to be on mute. 1 second. Okay, so we would look at what's our most expensive ingredient. If people kind of take advantage of it and they use a lot, how much are they going to cost me versus what's like kind of the maximum? And so I usually lean towards whatever that most expensive ingredient is. Now, if you see that it's too much, you could always have tiered. Hey, for 2 toppings, you get this amount. For unlimited toppings, it's this amount. So that way, if you get someone who's a little more conservative, they're not paying this max crazy price for somebody who's going to do like a suicide kind of thing on their entire funnel cake. So you can do that. But when it comes to like, if you're talking about like options, I think that's perfect to have either you make it for them and it's a set item that you created, the specialty item, or they can make it themselves. So there's no issue with the amount of options you have. But when it comes to pricing, you have to figure out what's the most expensive thing that they can pour on there and base it on that.
Okay.
Okay. So this was just the entire article because there's a lot of other things on here. some of this you can use the storytelling and that kind of the feeding the imagination. That's sort of going into a little more description. But if you're limited on the amount of space you have on your menu, I would skip that. And that can be something that you're talking to clients with, because you're going to have that time where you do want to sort of build rapport and get a little bit of face time with clients. And so the nostalgia, bringing out, if you have something that's a passed down recipe, it's from your grandmother, your grandfather, or maybe this is from your dad and he taught you how to do this when you were 9, right? Like these are great opportunities to upsell items by using the storytelling and nostalgia feature. The other thing would be kind of feeding the imagination. So using more descriptive adjectives, right? If something is homemade or house made, or if this is something that had a significant cooking process or a unique cooking process, you want to call those things out and as part of your description. You almost want to have like a little phrase to go with each menu item. If this is my red velvet cake, this is a secret recipe from my grandmother, this is her specialty cream cheese icing. Or if you have some other vanilla, this is my kid's favorite flavor because of the fresh raspberries I put in it, whatever it is. But I would have like a little something that you say about each menu item, so when people ask about it, it's not just a one word, you're not just calling out the name. There's a little description and a story behind it. Okay. What's maybe some things that you guys are going to do with the information that you've learned today? Think back to your menus and think about menu engineering. How can you apply some of this to what you already have in your business?
I'm going to go on my website and because I'm trying to add more storytelling so people can get to know the bigger picture of the company, I'm going to start putting some of the stories that were related to the menu items on there. And I've done a little bit, I think, of that, but I'm going to do that more. I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my daddy's recipes. Think yeah, right?
Yes.
That came to your face. Okay. No, that's fantastic. I was actually thinking about you. The name already tells me that there's a big story behind everything. So I would definitely make that part of your marketing. And the TKC, yeah, rewrite my menu. Anything else that you guys can think of that you can apply, to your business right now that you can do on your own?
Redesign the menu.
Design it. Mm-hmm.
And I am going to get another menu because sometimes I do not put my menu out because of the area I'm in, and I know they'll pay more. So sometimes I'm the oral menu. So I'm going to make 2 menus where it's,
Yes.
Yeah.
I have several clients that do that. And in fact, one, I was like, why aren't you doing this? You're in a completely different demographic. If you want to give, a deeper discount to the community, and then you go outside of the community and all of the competitors are significantly higher than you, why would you shortchange yourself? So I would definitely, if you are working multiple markets and you know that you can get more for your product, I would have a different menu. And if somebody says, hey, I just saw you at Lamert, how come it was this? Because we're in Lamert Park and we're, this is a community that, we're dealing with a different demographic, and I want to introduce this to them at a different price point. I have clients that do that. No one's kind of really mad at that. If you want this price, just come on down to Lamert. Yeah, so that's good. Streamline and redesign. And that's one of the main things. I want you to take a look at your menu and see where can you streamline it. Are you finding yourself carrying a lot of product at the end of the day? And not just from, we're not talking like the lack of sales. We're talking about you're even busy and there's certain items that you always have a lot of. Okay, well, what are we doing about that? Are we going to still cook the same batch, the same amount next time, or are we going to adjust those portions? There might even be other things that are on your menu that, maybe if you transformed it into a different, into different packaging, it would sell better. Okay, we got a call for kitchen prep. If anybody has a commercial kitchen to share, if you could drop that in the chat. And this is, yeah, that Q&A time, or this is just kind of that share time. If you guys have some general questions, not even related to the presentation, that we could go over. And about 20 minutes. All right, Miss Stephanie.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
This is Stephanie from Sweet Blessings.
Nice.
I can't wait to see everybody tomorrow. I know one thing that I am going to change because I will admit and be transparent. I was being a little lazy with my menu. My menu, I sell everything that's on that menu, but on Wednesdays I don't. And people will come up to my menu. Where's that? Where's that? Where's that?
Right.
And I'm like, uh-oh, I don't have that tonight. So for tomorrow, I have a smaller chalkboard. So I'm actually going to use my smaller chalkboard just for Wednesday nights. So people won't be like, where's that at?
There you go. That's it. There's your Wednesday menu. Because there is
that would
something
be my, yes.
good. There is something really good.
that.
Yeah, you don't want to disappoint people when they walk up, right? It's one thing if you sold out of it, but it's another when it's the start of the market and you don't have it, right? It's like, wait a minute, why is it on the menu? So thank you. I appreciate that you're taking that step.
Yeah.
And then Shaka, I see adding a QR code. So anybody, if you do have a current POS, you can reach out to them. They're usually able to create a QR code for you for the menu. And there are some, like I know with Toast, their QR code, you can actually pay and do everything through the QR code.
Really?
Yes. I don't know, Stephanie, if your hand is still up, but I think if that's the same one, we'll go to Janelle.
So mine is kind of a specific question. I have one product, ice cream, at this point. But I have multiple flavors.
Right.
Is it important to note the flavors through the POS at this point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I even covered this last week, but I don't know if you were in class,
No,
but I
wasn't. I need that
I-
recording. So that's another
yes.
note.
I absolutely said that. I said that, I've gone places where people just have, soda or side, and it's just one button.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know how to track that. So not even just for this menu engineering, but also for your own inventory. But yes, especially because all you sell is ice cream, you definitely want the flavors.
And I have found ways to justify not doing it, but I know that as we're planning location number 2 already, that I need to do it. In the beginning, we would just sell out of everything.
Yep.
So it was like, well, I mean, what
Right.
portions are people buying? Like, how are we preparing for that?
Right.
Which we do record. Portions we record, it's just the flavors and kind of knowing how much we go through of each one. At this point, I can kind of gauge how much of anything we should have, and we still run out, but
Right.
yeah.
But there might be something that, once you start writing those reports, you can say, oh, wow, I actually need to prep 4 gallons of this versus the 2 I've been doing. Or, oh, this one doesn't sell as much. I only need to prep, 1 gallon of this. So it is going to be very insightful, especially for you once you start adding those flavors in there. And I've always found it really interesting because there's always things that I think sells really well, and then the numbers will say something slightly different. Or there's something that I'm like, oh, I didn't think that sold that well. I guess it did. I'll keep it on the menu another week. Or especially if you do any kind of seasonal things or specials, you want to gauge how well they're selling compared to your staples.
And especially now that we're trying to establish what our core menu is.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say
then
especially you have to have a core menu that people can come to rely on every
rely
time they
on,
see you. And then there's these fun specialty things that you do, that you pop in. And so it's like, hey, get this while it's hot or cold, and because it may not be here next week. So
yes.
Okay.
We're on.
Yeah, and it will take some time. I know sometimes some POS companies do it for you, but if you know if it's Square or something like that, you have to do it yourself. Then yeah, I would just block out the 2 hours and just knock it out and get it done. Okay, Nakia, I don't think you're next.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh, I think you answered part of my question. One part. So you said Square, I have to do it myself for the menu, the POS.
Yeah, the last time I had somebody with Square, they had to do it. But I know when I've done like Clover and Toast, you email them the menu and they put it in there for you.
Really?
But you can double check. You can always double check. It doesn't hurt to ask. I'm sure you either have a rep or a customer service email that you can just shoot a quick email, because it's worth it if they can do it for you.
Okay. All right. And then also, I know that sometimes my customers ask me a lot because I'll notice that a certain thing is selling more than it normally would, is because they ask me, what's your favorite? Is that cool to put on the menu of chef's favorites? All right.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I do either chef's choice. If in restaurants, I would do it kind of for to help boost morale. I might pick a cook and say, tell me what your favorite thing is, or I want you to come up with a recipe and we're going to call it, Martine special or whatnot. And so it adds a little personality. It adds some humility as well to the menu, I feel like. So yeah, if you have your personal favorites, you're going to see people will usually buy the favorites.
Yeah, I usually sell all of those because they're constantly asking and that's what they get. And I'm like,
right,
yeah, for those. And then, yeah. And then also, I had a friend of mine who would put up like what sells out fast, like on her menu. Like, do you suggest doing that? Like that's
not bad. I mean, if you have a limited amount, you want to do it. And I think, so it's kind of a catch-22. Like some people are like, oh, great. I was able to catch it before it sold out. I got a popular thing. But if I come to you, 2 or 3 times in a row and every time you're sold out, I'm like, why can't you just make more? Like, what, what's going on with your inventory? Like, are you just not managing things efficiently? So I would, it's kind of a slippery slope. If every single time somebody's coming and it's being sold out, if that's a popular thing, you should start to make more, but you may not want to do that right away. So you go sell out a few times. But if you're starting to see, hey, we need to prep, an extra 10, an extra dozen, whatever, then you need to start doing that, because you don't want to disappoint people. Because if I come to you 2 or 3 times and each time it's sold, I'm not going to keep coming back to you, because I'm like, I've made up my mind, you're going to be sold out. So why even bother? So I would be careful with selling out. But if you do want to put on the menu, top seller, local favorite, inspired by, some celebrity or something like that, like any kind of caption like that is still part of storytelling a bit. So it'll help attract more attention to that particular menu item. You just can't put it on everything, right? You know what I mean? Like you can have 10 items and everything is everybody's favorite. So you're going to have to pick and choose what you really want to call attention to. And it's usually going to be the thing that's most profitable and what you genuinely feel is your favorite.
Yeah, because it's usually 2 things, and those 2 things, even if I make more, I usually sell out of those 2 things. Okay. And you get a lot of people like, oh, I'm going to come back. And I usually tell them, I'm like, I'm not trying to sell you right now, but if you come back, I may not have any more, so I was thinking of maybe putting something like that on there, or just a star next to it as top sellers or something like that.
Yeah, that's great. No, I think that's perfect. Good. Any other questions?
This is Jen. I don't have a question so much as a request from everyone. So if you guys go look at Holy Mother Vegan's Instagram page, she has on her page a post that shows where she's going to be set up for the next 7 days. And I think that's really great, because it not only promotes her, it lets people know exactly where they can, come get her, or come get burgers from her, food from her, but it also promotes the markets that she's going to be at. And one of the conversations that we've had several times, as vendors is like, okay, well, there wasn't a big crowd at this particular market. I didn't even make my money back or anything like that. But if every vendor did the same thing that Lonnie did and post, you know, all the markets, then that helps give traction to the other markets, including the Wednesday night market. So if it's at all possible, I'd like to ask that the vendors, you know, post where you guys are gonna be popped up, even if it's not for 7 days, even if it's just the Wednesday market and maybe where you're gonna be Saturday and Sunday, that would be great.
Here, I can pull up on our Instagram, right?
Holy Mother Vegan, yeah.
We can all peek at it.
And while Asia's pulling that up, I think I'm gonna check into the 99 designs that she mentioned and see about getting a logo made for the market. And then once we do that, we could start doing some graphic templates that people, excuse me, can share.
I love 99 Designs. They did my new package and they did my logo.
Nice.
Look how great that looks. That first row, it's like so bright. It's got her food on there. The colors like really jump out. That's awesome. I've been on social media today. So I
love that this Holy Week. That's hilarious. Very limited part.
Lonnie, are you on the call? Holy Mother Vegan, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Do you mind, what app did you use to create everything you have here? Do you mind sharing?
I use Canva, but I have a friend that designed a couple of templates for me, and then I just go to Canva and fill it in, put whatever, you know, what location I'm gonna be at on there.
Okay. Did your friend do this as a business?
Canva is
great. Yeah, her company is called, let me tell you right now. It's called it's called Events LMN.
Events LMN.
Yeah.
Okay, I just put that in the chat. Do you have is that the Instagram handle as well?
Yes, it's just Events with an SLMN. I mean LML. I'm sorry.
LML. Okay, I put that in the chat.
And she just I mean, you can tell her pretty much your budget and she'll work with your budget. She's not like super expensive.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Events LM. That way I can make sure.
But she does marketing as well. So
Is this her? Events.
Yeah.
Okay. There you guys go.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is Lolita Riza. I'd like to introduce myself to all of you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. I'm from Grits and Toppings. So what Grits and Toppings is, I have created over 65 dishes made from grits. From grits ice cream, grits waffles, grits bread pudding, grits pound cake, grits mac and cheese, a lot of grits dishes. And you can follow me on Instagram at Grits and Toppings. I have most of my recipes on there. I've come out with a cookbook with all grits, and I've made my own spices, and I have my own brand of grits, which are 3 different types of corn. I have the blue corn, the yellow corn, and the white corn. Initially, I was gonna open a restaurant, but at this time, it was kind of too much work at the time for me. So that's how I came up with the cookbook and my own grits and spices. Eventually, I'll open a restaurant, but I plan to show up tomorrow and make a few things from my cookbook. My cookbook is not available at the moment yet. It will be available in a couple of weeks. It's being finalized at the moment. And oh, you guys are looking at it. Thank you. So all those things are grits. That's grits waffles, grits pancakes. That's the yellow, white, and blue grits. Those are grits taco shells. That's
Wow.
grits and tuna. And then that's and it's toppings as well. So that's brown stewed chicken. That's decorated blue grits with the roasted salmon. That's a deep fried lemon pepper wings. That's boiled fish with Johnny cake. That's conch fritters. I'm from Turks and Caicos, guys. So you're gonna see
Okay.
some Caicos dishes on here as well. Those are my spices. And that's the cover of the cookbook up at the top. So I'm very excited to come tomorrow night, and I will be featuring my jalapeno chili cheese grits fries made with yellow grits, and my spices and grits will be featured in that one dish. So I'll probably introduce dishes since it's like last minute for me. I can't do too much right now, but I will add on things as time progresses. And it's a pleasure to meet all of you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Us as well. Thank you. Jen was telling me about that, about you joining before we started the call. So we're excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, Lolita. Your food photos are really, really beautiful. Do you have a professional food photographer that you're using, or are you taking those yourself?
I have a professional food photographer that I'm willing to share with you ladies. And
Okay.
his name is Edward St. Teza. I've known him for over 15 years. And he's very patient, great to work with. He's reasonable. And I will forward you guys, share his number with you guys. And he's great, as you can see.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you. All right. Any last minute questions or thoughts?
I like today's class. I just want to share that I think that it was a good support to the last class, because the last class with getting dollar amounts and pricing, understanding and formulas, it really helps to have a visual aid of what the two together can look like. I think it looks really well. And the information that was presented, I'm definitely going to be considering, because I don't have a menu myself, and I've been thinking about one.
It's
But
like maybe the
do-
first
You need
few
a menu.
minutes. We're sending a headshot to who exactly and what else?
I just didn't want to just have like a listed menu. I wanted to have a menu that pops. So I got some pretty good ideas today. So I thought that was great.
Oh, good. Thank you. That headshot's going to go to info. Did you put it back in there, Jen, or did she leave? You're welcome again.
I'm here. I'm on mute, and headshot
Okay.
info is to blackwomenvend.com. And I just put it in the chat. And thank you, Asia, for like these amazing classes. I'm learning so much. I'm going to set up a booth with a menu with my specialty, cold water. I might offer warm water with organic lemons, but I mean, this is like so motivating. I think I want to be a food vendor now.
That's a good one, Jen.
There you go. You can do a spa water bar.
Ooh, see?
Just have fresh fruit.
Ooh,
There you go.
glass tumblers with fresh fruit and spritzers.
Hey, people will buy that.
Jennifer, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane, Jennifer.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Come for them, Jen. Come for them. Come
Right.
for them.
Oh my goodness. So we're like right at 12:44. Asia said she had a hard stop at 12:45. So we'll end here for today. But again, as always, thank you, ladies, for showing up, because this doesn't work without you. This is getting a lot of positive feedback, a lot of positive traction, and we're just going to grow, excuse me, and take off from here. So slow in the beginning, but we're getting there each week. I have people reaching out. How can we participate? How can we help? A couple of Asia's helping me to tweak some things for the fundraising aspect of it so we can get money to do even more great things. So last week we had a great turnout. We got great reviews. So if we're fabulous with a $0 budget, just imagine what we're going to do once we have funding and financing. So I just want to say thank you all for sticking with it and showing up every Tuesday and Wednesday. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
See everyone
See you
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, Nakia. Stephanie.